Hello, everyone. Beate Gillette here. Here is an awesome preview of my interview with Ken Coleman. On this show, you will learn that any momentum is good momentum, and Ken will tell you exactly why that matters as you're figuring out where your purpose is. We also going to talk about how to get this, what Ken calls unstoppable momentum. And he said something that I think you all need to hear about, which is our longing for belonging and how you can make that happen in your life. We talk in the strategy piece about why simple is better and why the strategy, if it's a really good strategy, should not have an exit strategy, while that kind of undoes everything you were just trying to do. So for the entire interview with me and Ken, please check out the episode on the podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Hello, fabulous person. Beate Gillette here, the Growth Architect. Welcome back to the Business Growth Architect Show, where we bring you cutting-edge business strategies from some of the world's most successful entrepreneurs, business transformation experts, and visionaries who want to help you to scale your impact. Look for one tangible strategy that you can take back and implement right away. And now back to our guest. Welcome back, everyone. This is your host, Beate Gillette, and this is another episode of the Business Growth Architect Show. Today, I have an exciting guest who will talk to you all about money, making an impact, and all kinds of powerful things on how you can grow, build, and scale your business even further. Without much ado, Ken Coleman is in the house with me. Ken, tell everybody what they need to know about you and welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me. And they need to know what your name means. You just dropped that on me, and I think that's bonus content. Before we talk about me, folks, you need to know what this lady's name means. It's unbelievable. And all of a sudden, I feel so unworthy to have the name Ken. I'm excited to be with you. I get to help people, whether they're leaders or whether they be people who are, let's call them workers. I get to help people figure out what it is that their unique role is as it relates to work. What's your unique role? And I believe everybody was created to fill a unique role that is absolutely needed. It's really valuable. And so I get to do that through syndicated radio show, television interviews, YouTube, podcast, books, assessments, all kinds of resources. So that's a quick thing on me. But again, I wish my name was as cool as yours.
All right, fine. Now that you gave me this absolute amazing setup. So my name, Beate, comes originally from the Latin origin beatus. So if you ever go to the Vatican and you look up in the Basilica St. Peter's, it says beatus. And it means the bringer of gladness, the Holy One, the God sent. I always joke, clearly my parents had very high hopes for me.
Yes.
So there you go. That's the story.
You have to tell, think about you and your relationships. Well, my name means God sent. So, you should be happy to be with me. I think it's an absolute game changer. I love it. And I think you do bring people gladness. So that's why we're here today.
Yes, I certainly am here as a sharer of information and to make sure that a lot of the good stuff that I learned from people like you and Ken sounds very modest, but if you check him out, he literally is like everywhere. And so is about when we talk about strategy, right? It is important to know that there's mindset, there's growth, there's strategy. We do a lot of strategy work. So Ken, in your work, what importance does strategy play in your work, and what is strategy for you?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think strategy for me is I look at it very holistically. And so if I'm going to use it in a sentence, right? So here's our goal. So if you look at it from a sports, I think it's probably a great metaphor. So here's our goal. We're trying to put the ball in the net. We're trying to score a touchdown, or we're trying to whatever the goal is. So how do we best do that? So I think of, the great moments, in football or basketball, a coach will call a timeout and consults with the team, draw the play up, whether it be in the huddle or with the coordinators. And you're kind of going, okay, we've got to get 4 yards, or we've got to score a 3-point basket, whatever it is. There's a very clear goal. And so then the strategy is, I think, holistic when we say, okay, it's not just the goal, but it is how we are going to go about achieving the goal. So strategy is our mindset. Strategy is the actual execution of said acts, so whether it's this guy sets a pick, this guy blocks over here, or we fake it this way, we run back this way, all of that is a part of the strategy. So I don't think you can just say, okay, here's the thing we've got to try to do. It's the strategy has to be really holistic in that here's a very clear, united goal. Here's our mindset. And then here is the plan of attack. This is what we are going to do from A to Z, 1 to 10, whatever, to execute on the goal. I think that's what strategy is. And so I think for me in the work that I do, my favorite strategy is when you think about the overarching goal. And so there need to be multiple strategies because we're trying to reach people on YouTube. We're trying to reach people on radio. We're trying to reach people through books. I'm trying to really engage with the education system and let's really disrupt some things. So there are so many different goals that strategies need to be as simple as possible. So my favorite strategy is the simple one. And I think no matter what the objective is, we look at it and we go, okay, what's the best and most cost-effective strategy? So, instead of spending a bunch of money, I love testing things, trying things. So I want to go at something. My first and favorite strategy is what's the quickest, most efficient, cost-effective way to take a shot at it, to stab at it. Let's see. Because in the world that I'm in, as it relates to content and affecting change, well, at the end of that is people. And so at the end of the day, you don't know how a person is going to receive messaging. You could certainly have some ideas, you could have some data, but you really don't know. And so I think for me, in the world that I'm in, quick, effective, cost effective, it's not expensive. We're testing. The idea of throwing it against the wall and see if it sticks. And I think that you got to be nimble in the content space. So that's how I address strategy. And so I like the strategy to actually fit the characteristics of what we need to do. Because it just doesn't make sense in my world to take months and months and months, spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to try something. It just doesn't make sense.
Oh, that's a very cool way to look at it. A strategy has to have the characteristics of what you're trying to achieve. You also said that mindset, plan, and goal. So perfect lead for me to talk about some of the other things I'm really passionate about is because people think that in business, is all about hardcore strategy, right? It's like, you got to do it, you got the numbers, but you just said mindset. So how does that play into the strategy? Why is it even in the same sentence for you?
Because there's this old phrase that kind of has a military connotation or context to it, burn the ships. And if you've ever heard that phrase, to burn the ships, it means, look, we're going all in, and this is the island we're going after. We're going to take over the island, and we're so committed to it that we're going to burn our ships. We're not going to leave them out on the shore. There is no return is essentially, it's a romantic way of saying it, but it really is, I think, what I'm talking about when I talk about mindset of a strategy. Because if I go into something and I'm not fully committed and I'm leaving myself an opportunity to back out, I'm leaving an exit strategy, well, that's fine, but you're not fully committed. And I just think that, when we test small, try small, like I talked about, well, then, there's no major loss there. You know what I'm saying? There's no like, oh my gosh, there's no return at all. We're not that deep into the test. I think there are times though where you have to say burn the ships. Where look, we're all in. We're committed to this cause, and we know the cause is right, and we don't know the exact perfect outcome or strategy. We have a couple strategies. We're going to go with the one that we think is the best, but regardless, we're not going to back down. We're not going to stop. We'll dust ourselves off. We'll figure it out along the way, but there's no turning back. And I think that that's got to be the mindset. Now, the mindset could also be, hey, it's a small test. It's not going to take us a lot of time. It's not going to cost us a lot of money. So here's the deal. We don't have to be afraid of anything. Failure isn't fatal. It's not final. So I think that your strategy, right, will dictate your mindset, or sometimes your mindset will dictate your strategy.
So you said a couple of things that I really want to point out to make sure that the audience gets these finite details or fine nuances of what you just said. So a full commitment to a strategy doesn't need an exit plan, because you're either going to do it or you're not going to do it. There's nothing wrong with having a strategy that says we're going to commit, let's say, $1,000 ad budget, and then we'll go and see if it works, and it's either a go or a no go.
That's right.
But that's not an exit strategy. That's a strategy that has parameters on it. So you said that if I have in a strategy an exit plan and I'm not willing to burn the ships. So if somebody's listening to this and goes like, come on, dude, let's be real here, okay? I'm just doing my best. I'm just trying. What are you going to tell them?
Well, great. Keep trying. Therein lies the heart of, trying to figure out what strategies work for you, what don't work. This idea that you're going to get one great strategy and it's going to work, that just doesn't happen as much as I think people would like to think that it does. And I think that you have to look at the size of the try. Let's call it that. So depending on the size of the try, well, Ken, I'm just trying. Well, okay. Are you trying small? Are you trying big? Why are we trying small, or why are we trying big? And are you trying big instead of, you should be trying small? And I think that I got to tell you, I'd almost always, without knowing anything, say to that person, because I hear the heart you're trying to conjure up in the question, I go, try small. Like, keep trying small. Like, let's get some strategies going for a small win, and step back and go, okay, what did we learn from that? What did we do right? What did we do wrong? What was missing? What was confused? This is the heart of the entrepreneur. It's like if you're going to win in leadership or in entrepreneurship, it's going to come down to, I'm going to have to operate with what I think is the best plan, which we're calling strategy, based on the outcome that I think we got to try to get. And again, if you feel like the outcome you're looking at doesn't have a clear-cut strategy, the first thing I'd be doing is going, well, let's bring that outcome down a little bit. Let's pull back and figure out if there's a clear strategy for that. And then learn, then grow, then develop.
I think that's a good, easy way to look at it, because I think sometimes, especially in the era of internet marketers, we get so intimidated and overwhelmed by what's out there in information. I got my click-through rate to X% and I increased that, and then you can't make it happen. And you get kind of like all frustrated with it because you cannot do that at that level. So having talked about what we talk about in strategy, what's your favorite strategy you're going to share with us today?
I got to tell you, in my land, the world that I live in, which I'm trying to reach people through content, my favorite strategy is to test and learn and listen. I love to test. So we'll test something on our end. Maybe it's a lead generator, or we'll create some new content. And then once I've done it, I want to learn, okay, how did that come across to the team? What did we feel about putting it together? Was it the best foot forward? And then I want to listen to the audience. I'm a big believer in audience feedback. What does the audience say? How did the audience interact with it? Did they stay with it longer? Did they drop off sooner? I'm just a big fan of the quick test. And I talked about that earlier. So my strategy is to test small, learn big. That's what I would call it. Because I think when we're testing small, we can be quick, we can be cost effective, and we can also adapt and learn so much faster. So it's like the faster I try, the faster I learn. And the faster I fail, the quicker I win. And all of that comes from this idea of test small, learn big. I think sometimes people want to go at this big, giant home run, and it's so hard to hit home runs. You think of the baseball analogy with a home run. You look at all the great home run hitters through history, Babe Ruth, Hank Aaron. You look at their numbers. They struck out more than they hit home runs. They also led the league in strikeouts. So, understand that if you're going to be a home run hitter, that comes with a lot of strikeouts. And that I'm not a home run hitter. That's not my strategy. I like to be the guy who let's test, let's go small, 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 test quick, learn, adapt, grow, try it again. I just think to me, certainly in the content space where you're competing for the eyes, the ears, the hearts, and the minds of people in a very busy, crowded world, that's the best strategy.
You said something very important because I think it just takes that anxiety out of this competition to perform and win all the time. Because if I focus like what you said, and I want to make sure that our listeners really hear this loud and clear, it is okay for you to set small targets with curiosity, with the objective to primarily learn. And then when you have your learning objective under your belt, then you really build out the strategy going forward. Am I hearing this correctly, Ken?
It's absolutely right. I think it allows you to become that big locomotive. If you remember, any old movies, or if you just studied old trains, the locomotive, I mean, they didn't start fast. I mean, it's just kind of, and keep going. And with those small tests, we get momentum. Instead of the home run, I want the small test, and I'm moving forward. Even on a small test, even when I fail, I don't lose momentum. I'm still moving forward because I haven't gone backwards that far, right? So I'm tested. And that locomotive, once it gets going, it gets that headwind, and it keeps going with each rotation of the locomotive's wheels and that whole kind of contraption there, that big old steel bar. And it just keeps going, and then it starts getting steam, and now it is unstoppable. That is the mindset that I have. That's why I think those small tests, small strategy, winning that way creates momentum, really unstoppable momentum once you've taken all those learnings, all those small successes, and turn them into big wins. There's no stopping that train.
Unstoppable momentum. I love that, because any momentum is momentum, and if the judgment goes out, it's much easier. So you do so much for so many people. Is it about impact for you? Is it about money? What is it about for you? What motivates you?
Influence and impact. If I can influence people to change their lives, to acknowledge that they have something unique that the world needs, if I can influence them to think that way and then act that way, then the impact they have, I have a little teeny, eensy, weensy little part of. So yeah, influence and impact is why I work. There's just no question about it. Money's nice, but I got to tell you, we humans have this unbelievable capacity to adapt. And I've met a lot of really wealthy people who are still searching, but I've never met a person who has tremendous meaning and fulfillment in their life. I've never met them and said, man, they just seem to want more. Well, those people always seem to have enough. So money's not the pursuit, it's influence and impact.
Have you noticed that when you meet these people, they all have this kind of particular glow about them? Yeah.
Yeah. You know what it is? It's a sense of significance. They just know. I'm making the significant difference that I'm supposed to make. I'm in the significant role that I enjoy. I'm getting to impact the people in a significant way that connects to my values. What you're seeing there is a sense of joy. It's so much deeper than happiness. It is a true sense of meaning and joy. And so that glow comes from that.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's really interesting that you said that. And that made me really think about this, that the people that I have met in my life because they're people that are successful, that kind of crack the money code, and and they're banking in the dollars. But you're right, that doesn't equate necessarily happiness, but people who feel that they are in their purpose and that they're making an important contribution, whatever that may mean for them, on whether that's animals or people or teaching, education, whatever that might be. I do agree they have a different sense about life. Am I articulating this right?
It's absolutely right. Again, so every human being longs to make a difference. So you could say we were created and we come into this world with a longing for belonging. We long to belong. And I don't want to get into this word study because I'm a word nerd, but I mean, longing and belonging, those two words are related. But the way we use them is longing is I desire. Belonging is about identity and community. Okay.
Mhm.
And so what's interesting is that you don't ever have to teach a human how to wonder, what should I do with my life? You just don't. Like, nobody has to teach you to wonder that. Everybody comes to that question at some point in their journey at different times. But we humans, I'm telling you something, you can separate us geographically, politically, spiritually, whatever. And the one thing every human being has in common, those who aren't psychopaths, we got to allow for those wackos. But the reality is, even at some point in their life, they long to make a difference. We long to belong to this world, and we long to see that we have a positive impact on others.
Yes, I agree with you that the search to find your spot is what should drive all of us. And I think what you said when we first started the interview, Ken, that you said, I help people, whether they're entrepreneurs or whether they're just people, to help find that purpose. So this is really what it's about. It doesn't matter who comes to you.
No, I help leaders. I help students. I help retirees. I mean, every person is united in this desire to make a difference. And I'm helping people specifically in the area of work, because I just think that life is way too short to not live your life on purpose at work. Because I think we were created to contribute through our work. And so that's my entire mission, is to help as many people get that enlightenment and then get equipped to actually do something with it.
Well, I mean, let's get real here for a second. I mean, what I see a lot of times is when we look in the structure of how it's been laid out, from the educational system into the transition into work. And it goes like, and then you learn something that is already exists, you regurgitate this your entire life, and then you die. And that's hardly the stuff that dreams are made out of. I read this, I don't know if it was a study or where it was, but two people last week told me that they read this book about regrets that people have just before they die. And it's always about not having taken advantage of, being more courageous. Before we start to close out the show, I want you to talk a little bit about courage, because I have a feeling that that's a lot about what you teach, is to have the courage to believe that you're here for a purpose, for an impact.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought this up, because I think we as humans make a mistake in assuming that we can summon courage seemingly out of nowhere. Like, be courageous, have courage. We say things like this, and it's like, where does the courage come from? Like, courage is not something that we can just summon. And so the way I break down courage is that courage is the result of clarity and confidence. So clarity breeds confidence, gives us confidence, and then confidence is where we summon courage. But absent of clarity and confidence, there is no courage. The best way I can describe it is, if you've ever read a story or watched a TV story, a news story about a everyday person who maybe happens upon a car accident, maybe in the river or lake, or maybe a car is on fire. And we learn about this person as somebody who stepped into a very dangerous situation, endangering their own life to rescue another human, somebody they don't know. And we marvel at that courage, and we call them a hero, and they are. And the news types, they'll be interviewing them, and they'll ask the question like, what were you thinking? I mean, what made you decide to put your life at risk? And inevitably, it's the same response. I showed up and I saw that something needed to happen, and before I knew it, I was just doing it. And we marvel at that great courage. But did that person just get courageous in the moment? Or did they come up on the scene and instantly get tremendous clarity that this person, this stranger, is in this car and their life is at risk, and if somebody doesn't do something now, they die? That's clarity. It has to happen now, right? And they realize there's nobody else here. It's just me. Do I think I can do it? I can do it. There's confidence. I think I can do it. I think I can pull it off. And before they know it, they've put themselves in danger. They put their own life at risk to rescue the life of a complete stranger. Unbelievable courage. I would submit to you that when someone is extremely clear on why they must do a thing and that they can do the thing, that's confidence. So clarity first. I must do this. This must be done. Do I think I can do it? I think I can do it. I can do it. I know I have what it takes. That's confidence. And then they step into fear. They step into doubt and they act courageously. But you can't summon courage absence of clarity. Clarity gives confidence. Confidence gives courage.
It's brilliant. I sometimes say that courage is the audacity to not give up, right? That you sometimes get to the point where it's anything but this. But you're right. Courage doesn't, you're right. Somebody can just say, hey, I'm just gonna have courage now. Hey, courage, come on over here.
Right,
but
right,
it's more like, you know what? I really need to change something. I really want to step out of this. I really feel this needs to get done. I'm going to just have to figure out how to go about it and then really step into that. I love that. So Ken, how can we find out more about you and how can we learn more about all the things that you do and the content that you make available?
Well, the easiest way is to visit the website, kencoleman.com. That's where you can connect with me on social media, which is at Ken Coleman on Instagram. Of course, all the other social media platforms. Show in all of its different formats and locations. You can get that information there as well. Check out all the resources. We have free resources. We have a bunch of paid resources, including my best-selling books, From Paycheck to Purpose and the Proximity Principle. So kencoleman.com, best place to go. And for those that feel like, hey, maybe I'd like to ask you a question live on the air, we can change your name, change your location to protect the sensitivity. We'd love to answer your question live. So check it out on the Ken Coleman Show.
Thank you so much. It's been really awesome having you on the show. Any last words you want to leave our audience with?
Well, I got to tell you, I've done lots and lots of interviews. Nobody with a name as awesome as yours. You lived up to it. You brought gladness. I got to tell you, it was unbelievable. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. And that's it for us today. Thank you for listening and watching the Business Growth Architect Show. I enjoyed having you here. And for accountability, just take one of the strategies that you have heard, one thing that you can implement in your business immediately. Please leave comments. Don't forget to like and share this show. And if you have any questions about business, please put them in the comments. We are here for you. We're here to support you and help you to grow, build, and scale your own business. For more advice, please check out our website in the show notes below. Thank you again. This is Beate Gillette, the Growth Architect, and goodbye.